Hi everybody, it's Midwife Asia here.
And Midwife Katie again.
We're so glad that you joined us, and today we're talking about quickening.
Alright, I pretty much know what quickening is, Asia, but tell us what quickening is.
Quickening is what we call the first fetal movement that the mom feels in her belly.
It's such a cool word, quickening.
It is a cool word.
Who decided that was what it was going to be called?
So it's actually back in the Renaissance time, it was used to describe when the mom felt the first movement. They called it quickening because quick is also another term for life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really
So
interesting.
the mom's starting to feel the life in her belly.
Exactly.
And women didn't, they sort of knew they were pregnant back then, right? Like but it would take a while to be sure. And quickening was how they knew that they were pregnant.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that because I read some really interesting information about that. About how women didn't know that they were pregnant until they missed their period, of course, but then they still didn't know until they felt that first movement. They weren't for sure. And also, that's how they would determine the due date of the baby, is when they felt that first movement. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They would figure out their due date from that point.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We still do that today. I never thought about that, but one of the things that we chart as midwives on the chart is when they first start to feel movement, because then it's another way of calculating the due date, especially if you're not sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions that we wanted to answer for you today is when you might feel the first movement for yourself with your baby. And it varies so much between so many different women. I even called and texted a few of my friends and asked just their personal anecdotal experience, and most women said that it was within 18 to 24 weeks.
Okay, that makes sense. I have had quite a few moms who've already had babies, though, say that they feel it as early as 16 weeks.
That's correct.
And one even told me 14 weeks, and she says, is this possible? Could I really be feeling the baby this early? And we are not the ones to doubt what you're feeling.
That's right.
What you're feeling, you decide if that's what you're feeling.
And a lot of times it feels like a little flutter or gas bubbles. You can't really be sure, so you're kind of wondering, was that my baby or was that my digestive tract?
Is that how it felt when you were pregnant with Ireland?
Yeah, so when I kept feeling little movements, but I thought it was just bowel movements. And I was laying in bed one morning, I was on vacation, I was in an Airbnb, and I felt a kick. And I knew 100% that it was a kick. And I just had this excitement and elation and just ecstatic come over my body because I knew 100% that was a kick. It felt like a hug from the future.
Oh, that must be the coolest feeling in the world.
And then another question is when your partner might feel the baby kick, and that's always a really exciting time when you're waiting for your partner to feel it, and they're constantly checking and trying to feel it, and then you say, did you feel it? And they say no for weeks and weeks and weeks. But most partners can usually feel it around 24 to 30 weeks. It can really range that much.
And they say that's one of the things that starts to help the partner get more connected to the pregnancy. So
absolutely.
And to the real sense that you're going to have a baby together.
Yeah.
Until that point, if your partner hasn't been as connected as you might expect, that's really common. And that first movement, when they can finally feel it for themselves and they're finally getting a sense of it, is oftentimes when partners...
Nice dose of reality.
Yeah.
But there are different factors that weigh in when you're wondering when you're going to feel your baby or your partner's going to feel your baby.
We had a lady who couldn't feel her baby move until she was 30 weeks pregnant.
Really?
30 weeks.
Wow.
Because the placenta, right, the organ that nourishes your baby, the placenta was in front. And so it was like a pillow in front of the baby's movements. And she, even up until the very end of her pregnancy, had a really hard time feeling the baby move.
Wow. Yeah.
So sometimes she needed help determining whether her baby was doing fine, and he did great right up until the end.
Yeah, and so baby's location can be another factor.
What do you mean?
Well, if the baby's facing a certain way and kicking towards your spine, or your placenta's in the way and you're just not feeling it, it can also have to do with when your partner feels it too.
That's
true.
That's true.
If baby's facing a certain way and
so
kicking you internally.
Kicks that come out this way you would feel, but kicks that were coming towards your back, there's no nerve receptors back there, so you wouldn't be feeling it.
Yeah, or your partner.
or your partner.
And then your weight can also be a factor.
What do you mean?
Well, if there's a little extra cushion, then there can be a little bit longer for
Oh.
the nerves to
I
start
never
feeling
heard
that.
that before.
It's true.
I
It's
never
true.
knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
great to
your
know.
weight, your placenta location, and baby's position can all be factors when you're waiting for that first kick.
And what's it called again?
Quickening.
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 So cool.
Which for the longest time I couldn't remember it either. But now I know what it is. Now I know what it's called.
So we invite you to keep coming back, and we are producing evidence-based information that we hope is stuff that nobody else is telling pregnant people in the U.S. It's so important that you get a different perspective, that we have a more natural, more calming perspective, and that's what we're here to provide.
And we really care about you and your family, and we're always looking out for your best interests. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. We'll see you next time.
Bye.